Greetings and salutations. Thank you for checking out this video. It's a bit of a rant. I'm going to vent a little frustration, and I'm going to ask you for your opinion on this because I don't quite know how to respond to it. You would think after all these years that I would, and after all the years of teaching people how to use Linux, that I would have some sort of response to this, and I really don't, which is kind of surprising. So since I have started posting about Linux more regularly again, I have had a lot of really great comments. People have sent encouraging words, they've asked very interesting questions, they've made suggestions for upcoming videos, and I want to say thank you to everybody who has done that. But there have also been, some negative comments that have come up there. Some people say that I'm an idiot. Some people say that I don't know what I'm talking about. That's normal, and I accept that. And it's fine if you don't dig what I'm doing. You can express your opinion. I don't mind. But this is a comment that is repetitive. I get this from a lot of people, and I've gotten it over the years, and it's basically the same theme every time. This particular one comes from Rob R. 4662, and I don't quite know how to deal with this. Usually I say something snarky and dismissive and walk away. But maybe I'm doing the wrong thing, and so therefore I'm going to share it with you, and I would love to hear your opinion. Rob writes, "This is a great example of why most people will never use Linux." And he is referring to the video I posted about learning the Linux file system. He says, "It's a pain in the ass to do most common things on Linux. Windows, Mac OS, you can takes 3 seconds to make 1 or 2 clicks with everything explained, while with Linux you have to study the OS before you can do basically anything." Well, that's not necessarily true, Rob, but we'll get into that shortly. "Don't get me wrong. When set up correctly by a knowledgeable professional, Linux is unbeatable. Unfortunately, IT pros only account for 1% of the population, so 99% are not able to or willing to learn what is necessary to use Linux distros effectively." Let's take the first part of this. My mom, who will be 84 in December, uses Linux. She has used it for more than 10 years now. And yes, I did get her into Linux, and yes, I set her up with her first Linux machine. I gave her the machine, and I gave her a book, and she read the book, and she learned how to do it. And you would think that if our friend Rob here is correct, that she would be calling me once every couple of days with some computer question, asking me, how to do something. Nothing could be further from the truth. I rarely have a conversation with my mother that involves the computer. She actually takes care of everything. She does email, she does genealogy, she scans a lot of documents, she creates a lot of documents to share with other people online. And for her, Linux does everything she needs. And no, she didn't have to go take a course at a college. She didn't have to relearn everything she knew about a computer coming from Windows. Desktop Linux, especially super new user-friendly distributions like Linux Mint, you can point and click your way through doing all of the basic things that you're used to doing. You may never, ever, ever have to open up a terminal or do anything with your system. It's all right there. And if you think Windows and Mac OS is easier to work with, I would disagree with you, because my experience with Windows is that, yeah, you can point and click just the way you can with Linux, but Windows actually makes it more difficult to troubleshoot problems because of the convoluted way the system works and the fact that you don't really know what it's doing a lot of the time. Linux, if you take the time to learn it, doesn't hide anything from you. And if you understand a little bit about how the system works beneath the desktop, you'd be amazed at how quickly you can fix a problem on Linux, whereas on Windows you'd spend half an afternoon chasing it down. And I'm not one of those people that is a Linux nerd who doesn't use Windows. when I was working at the radio station, I had a Linux computer sitting on this desk with a Windows computer right next to it, because my work computer was a Windows computer. And I spent a lot of time in that machine troubleshooting problems and trying to get things to work. So my Windows/Linux experience for like the last 10 years has been about equal. So I think I can compare Linux and Windows with a little bit of authority. And the honest truth is that with Windows, if you're working on certain issues, you're going to have to open up a terminal. You're going to go find a tutorial online. They're going to say, open up a command line, type in this, this, and this is what you get. Just like it is with Linux. So all of that is a myth and not true. Now, if you are completely and totally ignorant of how any computer works, if you sit down in front of Linux, you're probably going to get yourself in trouble. But you probably will do the same thing with Windows too. So that is the other thing. You're sitting there couched in your complacency because all you've ever used is Windows, and you look over and see there's this thing called Linux, and now you're afraid of it. Like, oh my God, it's going to be horrible to use. That's not true at all. So the second part about nobody being willing to learn or able to learn, that's not true at all. I see this as a reflection on the person who is posting this sort of thing, because you're projecting your own feelings on the rest of the population. Speak for yourself. Maybe you're not able to learn. Maybe you're not able to put the necessary effort it takes to learn something into Linux. And if that's you, and that's a personal decision, you go right ahead. But here's the thing. Before you go, I have to ask you, why do you find it necessary to watch a Linux video and then piss all over it in a public forum? That's what I don't get. And that makes me rather flippant with people like this. It really does. My response to Rob was a very curt, lots of people want to learn Linux. Sounds to me like you're not one of them. Because how do you deal with that attitude? Am I supposed to write 14 paragraphs that Rob probably won't read? Rob probably isn't going to see this video. Because people who post these comments turn around and walk away. And they never come back to it. And then I've had people who have gone so far as to say, you shouldn't post videos that dive deep into the system. You shouldn't take an hour to talk about the Linux file system because it scares people away. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard of in my life. It doesn't take long to learn things if you have a positive attitude. If you want to learn and it's something that you get joy from, I'm hoping that videos that I post will help people to learn new things, at least get their mind pointed in the right direction so they can go off and learn some things for themselves. That's the reason why I post these videos. It's not to scare people off. That's crazy. I mean, you do have this attitude among a lot of people these days of they want instant gratification. They want Linux handed to them on a cracker with cheese and ham and say, here you go. You don't have to learn anything. It's just, there it is. It's a drop-in replacement for all your computing needs and you'll never have to think about it again. Well, that's ridiculous. Linux is deep and rich and complex and simple at the same time. There's a lot to learn here. It depends on how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. For daily use, you just want to do email, you want to watch videos, you don't have to know much about this. You just install it, get it up and running, and let it run. And it'll run like that for years. Install your updates, reboot the system, you can keep it rolling for forever, like my mom does. So anybody can learn how to do Linux. So I guess what I'm saying here is that I feel like that I really don't know how to respond to people like this, because if you take them to task on things that they say, then I think they get a little bit ashamed of being so assertive about it, and they don't want to admit that possibly they were projecting their own feelings on top of everybody else, and so therefore they get defensive and sometimes this can go down a road where I don't want to go. I'm not here to argue with anybody. If you want to learn, great. If you don't want to learn, that's fine too. But I have to be honest, if you're going to come in here, watch a video, and then piss all over the entire Linux operating system because you don't understand it and you don't want to learn something, then I can't help you. What are your thoughts? Put it in the comments below. Thank you for watching. We will talk again soon.